Are you ready to thrive? It is time to take action. Hello, everyone. This is Jen, and you are listening to Thrive by Jen Radio on Transformation Talk Radio. What is the result of thriving? Body confidence, mind fulfillment, and soul synchronicity. Tune in to hear about these elements and the scientifically and spiritually proven action steps to stand in confidence, love from within, be unstoppable in fulfilling your dreams, and create synchronicity so you can flow toward abundance and love. Hear real stories that will inspire you to take action today and be a catalyst for positive change in this world through creating your own Thrive life. Let's do this. Feel empowered and ignite your soul with Thrive by Jen Radio starting now. Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this happy Monday. And I'm pretty excited. We're going to do our last show in this series. We've been talking about adult bullying, and I have my fantastic friend here, Kathy Margiasso. Kathy, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm excited for you to be here. Kathy and I connected and we started talking about, just a little recap how this all started. I was bullied on Facebook, and my thing is, and Kathy and I have spoken about this, is what do we do to turn this into something positive? And my positive um, perspective about it was, I'm going to turn it into a series of shows. And what was surprising and a little sad was how many people have reached out to me. So grateful that everybody has reached out to me. We've gotten so many emails and Facebook messages about adults who are getting bullied. And it's been happening at work, it's been happening in church, it's been happening with friends. And Kathy and I will talk a little bit about that, because this just isn't about this it's the right leaving school, and sometimes we say some of our behaviors, like being back in high school where people are getting snippy and snooty with us. So this was pretty surprising that this was happening so much, and also with family. I was surprised at how much was happening with family. So I want to dive in because we have so much to talk about. So, Kathy, if you can share with our audience, just tell us a little bit about. I want to hear a little bit about you and who you are, as well as a little bit about your story about what happened, and we'll talk more. I also want to hear about, this is important to you to share with us, because you are a life coach, and you can help people get through bullying and what happened. So welcome. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm a fitness professional for over 30 years. And I'm a personal trainer. I teach class. I'm a health coach. I'm a life coach. I teach CPR. I'm a consultant. So I do it. I wear a number of different hats. I've had a number of different positions over the years in the fitness world. My incident basically was, I was a manager at a fitness studio, and I had an employee who gave resignation. But due to actions that were happening leading up to the resignation, that was not a surprise. She had given notice, and I just turned around and said, okay, well, thank you. And I just said, but today is your last day. Totally justified and everything. But basically the bottom line, what happened was that first, disgruntled employee, not happy. I totally get it. And the email started rather benign. But then they became more aggressive, some vulgar. It became Facebook, Instagram. I'm not on Twitter, so I don't know if it was on Twitter or not. And people started telling me things, and I was like shocked. I mean, just shocked. I couldn't believe it. But not only did the emails become more, and the Facebook posts and the Instagram become more aggressive, they became more attacking me personally, professionally, attacking my character, slander. And it was then when it was up on Facebook and Instagram, my email, my name, it was shocking and hurtful, very hurtful.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that because I think it's such an important that's the that's the piece that we struggle with, right? That this is just yesterday I heard something that resonated with me and I was thinking about this hurt that we feel and also just a disappointment, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you just can't believe that somebody would do this because they were all lies. They were
uh, just
fabricated.
just lies. And I do pride myself on being a good manager, that I respect my employees. I think a good manager, you're only as good as your staff,
Mhm.
and I treat them well. And so it was really surprising, and I never saw this side of this person either. So it was just, I was like, what? I was so taken back. The but you want to react. Your reaction is to tell people that's not true, to almost play it out publicly, which is,
Mm,
of course, you don't want to do. And it's very hard. I mean, the first thing is you have to step back, and you have to say, I have to know my own truth. I knew what happened. I knew, um, when you're dealing with a lot of people, and you're in an environment with, when you are around a lot of people, gossip starts happening, and it becomes a thing.
mhm.
And it's very hard to know your own truth, and be the bigger person, if you want to say, when
Yeah.
somebody's telling lies about you. And really, I mean, even contacting other people, and trying to draw other people in
Mhm.
to the incident, I was like, so taken back. And one of the things that I pride myself on is, and I teach. I'm the mother of 3 adult children, all wonderful adults, all educated and holding really good jobs, all very different. But I try to empower them with, like, a concept of, like, really living above the line, really living above the line. When you live above the line, you take ownership and accountability and responsibility. And really, the initial thing that I did was, what did I do? And I would tell my children that when they had conflict in school, okay, so, all right, so let's take the emotion down a bit,
Mhm.
and let's see, what did you play a part
Mhm.
in, what's your responsibility. But bullies, they really live below the line. They blame other people, they play the victim, they complain, they're critical, and they're very closed-minded. And it's something that, when you're working with your children and they're growing and they're going through this, and you just don't realize that this would happen in an adult world.
Sure.
And I'm not talking like young adults, I'm talking a mature adults. And basically, we're not alone. I mean, we're not alone. It happens all over, all walks of life. And the other thing I would say to my kids is, we can't control some situations or what people say, but we can
Right.
control how we react,
Sure.
and how we're going to handle the
Sure.
situation.
And that's important because as you're going through this, I know I felt and our listeners maybe have too, is that you want to take it public. You almost want to scream on that mountaintop, like, come on. And then, it's funny when I like you're saying, look at it from like, what role did I play? And I too like to look at it like, okay, let me look at all the perspectives here. Let me look at
Hmm.
all the different perspectives. And I think about if anything that I said could have been taken in a different perspective,
Hmm.
and let me see what, let me check and see what my tone was, what the situation is. It's for me, it brings me to a place of compassion and right and understanding. And then I think back to when, because you and I are similar in age, I think back to, I'm like, you know what? I'm like, back in the days when there was just that rotary phone. I'm like, you were limited to what you could do.
Right.
Um, so I kind of it gives me that opportunity to, like you said, check my emotion. And that's something that has been a common theme throughout this series, and you're making some great points, is check your emotion, right? Another guest had said you got to stop, like, stop, right? Stop where you are. You want
Hmm.
to react, but you check your emotion. So what's something that you do, that you can share, like, you're in the heat of you know what I mean? You're reading this stuff, right? And right away you want to like start, and that's what people tend to do. They want to start tapping right on their keyboard.
Right.
Let me get on my phone, right?
Hiding behind the computer. That is, it was my immediate reaction. It
Hmm.
was, it was, and I really had to think about it, again, like stop, challenge myself and
Hmm.
say, okay, what, oh, how do I feel about this? What do I think, I could do about it? And then finally choose what I'm going to do, because every action will have a circumstance, a consequence that comes along with it. So, so how, what, what can I do to, make, or maybe I can't do anything about it. And that's really, you feel powerless in many ways. It really became a situation, and initially I felt alone, which is
Hmm.
horrible.
Yeah.
And it was something that really, it's very emotional. It's very emotional. So
Yes.
you just stop, you challenge yourself, you think about it, and then you choose what you think you might want to do about it. And there's some people, like I really would say to my children, I mean, people who, bring other people down are usually insecure. They usually, put people down, because they try to feel better about themselves.
Hmm.
It's really about assessing the situation, and what's real and what's fabricated.
Sure.
um, but it is scary, and this digital world that we live in, this social media, which has so many benefits and wonderful things to it. It really does, keeps us connected, but there is that downside too. And
Sure.
so it's just it can be a scary situation.
As a coach, do you suggest, you brought up making a choice, right? We have a choice on how to respond, right? We like the word respond versus react. So do you think it'd be beneficial for people to write down, um, a coach once said to me, and I'm not going to say this exactly correct, but I do practice it. Um, one, right? One choice is really, that's not a choice. Two is, it's, you're still feeling backed to a wall. But three, now we're working with opportunities and solutions.
Right.
So do you suggest writing down maybe three or four choices to the situation, so then that way we can take the time to assess on what we're going to do?
Oh, absolutely. When I'm dealing with someone, a client, and they're moving toward a goal, they need to do something, and they're unsure how to do it. I'm like, going back to that old pros and cons, even, writing it down, writing your thoughts down, um, and then really trying to figure out, what action steps work best for you.
Mm,
And that's, it's just a great way to really have a visual then, as to,
sure.
as to, what, and you might change it, and things may take a left turn, and you might have that aha moment that I think a lot of people do. But we're so strong, and there's so much greatness in everybody, that
Mhm.
in the end you can figure out, what is best for you, and it may not be best for another person,
Sure.
either.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Mhm.
We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we get back, I want to go. I want to talk about the hurt, because you brought something up for me where hurting people hurt people, and I want to talk more about that. You're listening to Thrive by Gen Radio on Transformation Talk Radio. Hey, welcome back to Thrive by Gen Radio on Transformation Talk Radio. I am with my good friend Kathy Margiasso. Kathy is a life coach, and we'll talk a little bit. Kathy, I want people to know how to find you. Right now, they can reach you on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. On
Perfect.
Facebook, as well via email at a very simple, it's my name, Kathy.Margiasso@gmail.com.
Awesome. Because I
So,
think it's,
yeah.
having people always ask me, I've been coaching now for 25 years and I have coaches. So
Mhm.
it's just one of those things where, right, we're always looking to grow. And so,
Improve.
right, improve. That growth needs help. So I want to
Mhm.
go back to what you brought up, and it brought something up for me. So I've learned, and there's truth to this, that hurting people hurt people, loving people love people. So that's why, as an individual, it's important for me. I'm always working on coming from a place of love, because loving people love people. So
Mhm.
let's talk about hurting people hurt people, because when you're going through this, right? If you're being bullied, that's what's happening.
Mhm.
Hurting, that person is hurting. So can you talk a little bit about what you've learned? Because what I love about your bullying kind of has come full circle, where now you're in a place of compassion. But
Mhm.
share with our audience that circle, because you've learned a lot, and I think that you can share with people. Look, you might be going through a bullying situation right now. Here's you now taking a step back and looking at it.
Mhm. In hindsight, and in just thinking about the situation, is I do feel bad. I do feel compassion for this person. Um I can see it's a pattern.
Mhm.
I can see that I don't know. Again, I didn't have a personal relationship with this person, but but basically, I feel, you know, get rid of some of this toxicity. If there's someone in your life that's like that, surround yourself with those that love you and build you up. I mean,
Sure,
look at the your inner circle, the people that you hang with.
sure.
You know,
But you learned,
so
and I'm sorry to interrupt, is that you were able to learn that this person then bullied others.
absolutely, that only came out afterwards. And I was just like, again, I always try to look for the best in everyone. I
Sure.
just feel that, one of the things in my coach training was, the imperfect is perfect, right?
Mm,
You're perfect just the way you are, and
yeah.
things that have happened in your life make you who you are. So my immediate reaction, this happened a while ago, and other incidences have come up since that, not to me. With this person, I was like, whatever happened to this person that makes them so um, mean and
Mm,
nasty, and and spewing this stuff out into the universe. I mean, what I often say is, whatever you put out there, it will come back at you.
mhm,
Positive energy, a good feeling, good vibration. We choose to be happy,
mm,
and I'm not going to try to fix this person, but it's you stand there and you go, whatever happened that this person has to be this way. I mean,
mhm.
there must be something, and it makes me feel bad.
So that's
I'm
the
absolutely right.
compassion, right? The
Yeah,
compassion comes in.
right, because I just feel that, um, it's just not a good thing. Things are not going to go well down the road, and it's beyond what I'm willing to do anyway. To help,
Sure,
to help this person.
sure. Well, too,
Um,
I think it's important, and let's talk a little bit uh, about controlling the situation, because one of the
mhm,
things in not only my experience of being bullied, but coaching people through bullying, is that we you brought it up before, where people are talking about us, right? They are choosing to, whether they believe the stories that are being told, but they're entertaining it, right?
mhm,
Maybe four of your friends are sitting around saying, can you believe Kathy did this? No, that doesn't sound like Kathy. Maybe she did do it, but that's okay. Part of this process, and what our listeners need to hear, is that you got to let that stuff go.
You have
right?
to.
You have to let that stuff go.
You
You
have
can't
to.
walk around. If you think about walking around the next 14 days, let's take 2 weeks,
Mhm.
and picturing yourself trying to control what everybody is saying about you.
Yeah.
Right? You go
Yeah.
not only out of your mind, but you're you're not spending your energy
Right.
efficiently, not living a life, right?
Right. Right. Also, I mean, anger was
Yep,
another emotion that I felt. You have to let that go, because otherwise that will eat your soul. I
sure.
mean, it's too much, too much wasted energy on those things. Um, so that's why you surround yourself with the people that are there to support you. Because it's something that, um, yeah, I mean, I'm only human. So to see, there were a couple of comments, public comments, not too many, but there were a couple of public comments like, oh wow, I can't believe that, like, type of thing. And here I am, you're looking at this, and initially, again, I had to step away. I had to
Yeah.
shut it off. I had to step away. People would come tell me what they saw,
Mm,
out there on social media. And I was, yeah, it was hard, but I choose not to waste energy on that. I
sure.
really do. But it's hard. It takes time. And actually, for me, I did seek some legal counsel. That was, an action that I took.
Hmm. But
And
again, that's probably you weighed that in your choices,
Mhm.
right? So we're not saying that you don't necessarily. There might be a situation where legal action is
Mhm.
right. Has to come into play, but when you sit and go through the process of, okay, here are my choices, that's where, like you said before, you lost power, but now all of a sudden you empowered yourself,
Right.
right? You
Right.
empowered yourself to deal with the situation.
Right. Right. No, absolutely. You empower yourself, however you're going to do it, whether it's to take some legal action. And actually, I could have gone further down the road, but I didn't want that. All I wanted was for things to be taken down.
Sure.
That's all I wanted. And then again, the bully. You All of a sudden, it was like, well, this person says I never put those things up there. And the one thing, and we had evidence and whatever, but and the one thing that I said to, my attorney at the time, I said, wow, this person's giving me so much credit because I'm so bad at cutting and pasting and all those things. I said, no, I mean, I would never do that. I
Right.
try to approach everything, on the positive side. And, so yeah, because whatever action you choose,
Hmm.
has consequences,
Sure.
you know?
You said something that's been a common theme in all of my guests about this, and we're going to take a quick break and we'll talk about it when we get back. But you said it's surrounding yourself. So all of my guests talked about having your tribe, right?
Mhm.
Having those 3, 4, 5 people who you can turn to, and that's your support system. So let's take a quick short break, and when we get back, I want to talk about your tribe, building your tribe, and where to find it. It's because I think it's especially difficult as we age, right? It's harder. It shouldn't be, but we feel that the concept is harder to make new friends when you're older. So when we get back, we'll talk about building our tribe. You're listening to Thrive by Gen Radio on Transformation Talk Radio. Hey, welcome back, everybody. You're listening to Thrive by Gen Radio on Transformation Talk Radio. I want to dive in and jump into talking about building our tribe. So, what's interesting is, gosh, in the past, so we become like the 5 people that surround us most, right? And which is true, because if you're around, right, if you're around somebody, and somebody is, if you're surrounded by five people who are always positive, you're going to raise your standards, right, or
Hmm.
you're going to walk away from the tribe. You'll find a new
Hmm.
tribe.
Hmm.
So, and what usually happens, and this has been proven in studies, is that every 6 months you'll see people of your tribe drop off and new people will naturally come in. So I kind of want to throw out there that making new friends is not hard, in the sense that it really naturally will happen. Do you agree with that, or is
I
there?
totally agree with that. I mean, if you're open, you have
Right,
to just be open.
right.
Um, I come into contact with a lot of people. I've done, like I said, in the fitness world, I've done a lot of different positions other than ownership. I've just never owned, but to be a manager, even managing my own household, you have to deal with conflict and confrontation and different kinds of people. um, but yes, I mean, you want to, you just want to surround yourself. You want to be open, to accepting new people into your life.
Sure, yeah.
Right, and those opportunities will come
Yep. I mean, it
if
might
you
mean
just.
that you have to leave the house, right? I mean, this,
Yes.
which is a big
Yeah.
step for some, right? But
Hmm.
but there are opportunities, and what's you said it before. If if there's someone in your tribe that, in the last 2 years, my tribe has changed. My closest five has changed dramatically, and it doesn't mean that when somebody leaves your tribe, or you kind of have to break away from that person, that doesn't mean that we have to do it in a mean way, right?
No.
It doesn't mean that we have to never speak to them again. It just
Right.
means that on, right, in your daily, if your
Right.
daily, if it was a daily talk, now maybe we take it down to 2 times a week talk, and then
Right.
once a week talk, and you kind of work your way backwards,
Right.
out of the
I also believe that people come into your life for a reason. They come
relationship.
into your life at a time when you need them. And so sometimes that relationship then is closer for a while, and then it drifts off a little bit. I mean, that's just the way people are. Again, I come into contact daily with a lot of people, and I often will say I have a ton of acquaintances and people that ask me for things and to do things, and I'm always usually um, accommodating. Again, I have the must please disease.
Let's talk
So
about
yeah,
that.
but yes, I mean, it's just I would say I have this inner circle of people that really know my heart, really know my soul, and that I can go to, and I feel very blessed to
Mhm.
have that.
Sure,
We truly
sure.
do.
Well, let's talk about too, because the tools are the same. If Because there have been times when there's been, and we can call it bullying. There's been bullying in our, right, in our tightest of circles,
Mhm.
right. I've had, best friends where we've broken apart. So the tools are the same. The tools that we're talking about, finding compassion, finding your tribe, looking at things from a different perspective. Those are all the same things that we still employ, that we do to get through this. But let's talk about your must please disease, because that leads me to two things that I'd like to bring up. I'd like to bring up setting boundaries,
Mhm.
and I'd like to bring up that there's, like you said, we've been given gifts, and there's people in your path, and right now that person may need something that you have. So if they come, they grab it, they grab a hold of it, and maybe they run, maybe there's not a long-term relationship there. That's okay.
Right.
Right. So let's
Right.
talk about, have you had to set boundaries with your must please disease?
Oh, absolutely. Um, I mean, um, I am a person that I can be on a lot, like 24/7, and so basically when I'm asked to do something, my initial reaction, whatever it is usually okay, yes, like I and I've really learned. to step back a little bit
Mhm.
and just say, okay, okay, let me consider that if it's something that I'm unsure of, and let me consider that, and then really think in soul search inside of myself to see, is this something I really want to do or I'm capable of doing? Um, and really, I usually come up with the right answer,
Mm.
and it's just by just controlling myself a little bit.
Sure.
But yes, setting boundaries. Sometimes it's just not in the workplace taking phone calls after, 9 o'clock at night.
Sure.
When you manage a health club and they're open at 4:30 in the morning, and they close 10, 11 o'clock at night. Certainly difficult sometimes, but but you really try to, yes, set certain boundaries of what you're willing to do, what and again, could lead to certain consequences.
Right. Sure.
So
Absolutely.
right. So if I usually I have found, I mean, even I've been working full time for some time now, and even like they, what is that old thing, like ask, if you want something done, ask somebody who's busy, right? So oh, could you make like 20 gingerbread men for like tomorrow morning,
Yeah.
like that, and you go, okay, let me get back to you, type of
Yeah.
thing, because I've had to, because originally, and then I'll be up till midnight making gingerbread
Sure.
men, right? So it's something that I know about myself. I consider myself a kind person. I consider myself a caring person. I consider myself somebody who really tries to look at the good in
Mhm.
everyone, because I think there is good in everyone, and just to live my life honestly,
Sure.
and so yes, so again, those who try to take you down, to tear you down, whether it be professionally, personally, whatever, you just need to back away. Just back away, because it's not healthy. And again, don't try to change someone.
Right.
I mean,
You can only change.
I'm
You can only
right.
change you. Right.
Right.
You can only change
You
you.
can only work on yourself. You can only control what how you react, what you do. Um, and again, I think it just makes you a better person too. I think it
Yeah.
makes you a more compassionate person. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and just trying to understand.
Sure. You bring up a good point. With it reminds me of reframing. I mean, because that's what we learn as coaches and in life, right? We
Hmm.
reframe things, and that's what we share, and that's what we can share with our listeners today. Reframing is about changing the
Hmm.
story of so. But what you bring up is, and what's interesting is what, and I want to share with people because so bullying can happen on so many levels, right? It could be what it was a gross bullying situation with what you how you went through. But even like let's do your cookie story for example, because I think you make a great point is that you're saying yes, right? You're the pleasing person, you're the must please disease. So you're saying yes to things. You're at a point where there are no boundaries. You'll stay up till
Hmm.
3, 4 o'clock in the morning making the gingerbread cookies because you didn't want to say no, right? You wanted to please the
Hmm.
person. But what starts to happen, right? This resentment starts to build up, right?
Absolutely.
Sure, resentment starts
Absolutely.
to build up.
And then your anger or your resentment can be misguided. It can be,
Absolutely.
and then that's
Absolutely.
when, even with my own children, my friends, my husband. I mean, if I've lashed out, I'm human, so, and it's always good to say you're sorry.
Hmm.
I mean, I didn't handle the situation well, and just move on from there and grow from there. I've never been a person to step away from. I'm not confrontational, but I won't cower, to confrontation, so if it happens, but it's, to, yeah, because if you hold that in and you're not doing what you truly want to do, what you truly are meant to do, then that's going to harbor resentment, and it's going to eat at you.
Sure.
So, so
Well,
yes.
also too, and again, this is to give our listeners perspective, that turns you into a bullying situation.
Absolutely.
Right? That turns you because we're
Absolutely.
again, we take it back to I want to give that example of hurting people, hurt people is that when you're just giving, right? We always see those memes like fill the well, right? Before
Mhm.
you can give. If you're constantly emptying the well, you we do snap. It just like you said, we're
Absolutely.
human and it's gonna happen. So yeah, again, it's that for our listeners, it's just giving people that perspective and that compassion. I'm
Mhm.
not making excuses for I mean, when I right, when I snap, I'm like you, I'm quick to apologize, and if I don't realize I did it and somebody brings it to my attention, I'm quick to apologize.
Absolutely.
So we're, snapping leads to snapping a little bit more and doing,
Right.
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 So again, just to give our listeners perspective, if you're being bullied, this is about helping you, and what helps us is reframing it and just
Mhm.
taking a step and saying like, oh, okay, that person's got to be going through something pretty
Right. Pretty.
painful to do
Yes.
what they're doing.
Yes. Yes. And you try to understand, but some things are beyond what you can help as
Uh,
well.
and beyond
So
understanding, right?
right,
Beyond,
right. At some point on some levels you have to let go,
yeah, I love that.
because again, yourself. I mean, one of my older clients said to me one time, Kathy, give yourself something every day. Again, as she used the analogy of the cookie jar. When we as women, and I have two sons and a husband, so I'm not going to bash men at all. But we're constantly, somebody comes in and takes another cookie and another cookie. She says, do something for yourself every day. Could be 5 minutes. It could be to pray, to meditate, to do something. And I'm not good at it all the time, but I really try to do something for
Mhm,
myself each day,
for
and it
sure.
it satisfies your soul. And again, then I have enough to give out.
Absolutely.
um,
Yeah,
mhm,
absolutely. You know what? We're going to take our last break, but when we get back, I want to talk about that because part of that refreshing, not only, right, is it to give, it's also to get through these tough
mhm.
situations, right? These obstacles that come in our path and we can get through them. When we get back, we're going to talk about that more. I think that's important. You're listening to Thrive by Gen Radio on Transformation Talk Radio. Hey, welcome back. We are in our last segment. So I just want to jump back to let's talk about feeling that well because it's not only to give more, how I found that filling the well and doing something every day for myself and really right calming down and meditating
Mhm.
and um getting things that put me in a more relaxed state help me deal with these situations,
Right.
right? Because it's not, again too, I just it's not only about bullying, it's also about, I think that there's rumors that fly, right? There's
Mhm.
cattiness, there's this girlfriend invited two other girlfriends, how come you didn't invite me? That's so strange. There's little things.
Right.
So share with us a little bit about right filling that well, and it's not only about just the giving, it's about how to handle things.
Right. Right. How to handle things. I handle them in a healthful manner. For me, it's exercise.
Mm,
Sometimes and fresh air. If I have walked outside, I don't care for the winter, but it's like I'll put my coat on, I just walk.
yeah.
Trying to what satisfies my soul
Mm,
personally. What satisfies my soul personally. So sometimes it's okay to sit and read my book and have a cup of tea. It's okay to do something, maybe I'm a girl, go for a manicure.
mhm.
What gives me joy?
Yeah.
Maybe calling, one of my children this year moved to Arlington, Virginia. It's far, so maybe picking up the phone and saying, hey, how's your day today? Or
Yeah.
touching base with, somebody else. So, those are the things that, hearing, hey mom, before we hang up, I love you.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just looking for healthy things. It recenters me. It brings me to know who I am, and that always helps you. That always helps you through these situations.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And also too, I mean, you brought up, and there is truth to this, and I want to share this with our younger listeners, is that with age comes maturity, right? So with age, we not only mature through situations, but as I get older, I get more in tune with my own mortality. And so for me, the wasted, I just doesn't I don't it just doesn't phase me what people say or what people
Right.
think, or any, it just doesn't, because
Right.
it's so my life is so important to me that I'm living
Mhm.
it right day by
Mhm.
day, how I want to, because
Mhm.
time is borrowed.
Right.
This is we're on borrowed time, and that's an important point in when you talked about choices. I take that into consideration with my choices.
Mhm.
Do I want to spend the next week? I'll say that too. That's another tool that I tend to use, is that when something happens, and Kathy and I were talking about this at break, is that I really struggled with the word this past week, with the word hurt, because I'm like Kathy in that I believe that people come and go in our lives, right? Based on for me, it's God. God
Mhm.
um, puts people in my life and takes people out of my life, and so I accept that.
Mhm.
But there are some people that have left where I'm just bummed, like I'm bummed, right? And so the word that kept presenting to myself this weekend was disappointment. And so I just want to briefly touch on that, because you reminded me of something, that it's an emotion,
Mhm.
right? And we need to let it run through us.
Right. Yes, it's better to feel it and deal with it, not put it on the side, because
Mm,
it's a true emotion.
mhm.
And so when somebody disappoints us, and it's not something that you can express to them, and
Mhm.
sometimes it's not. It's okay to feel disappointed in someone,
Sure.
you know and then move on. Again, I agree with you. The older I get, the more it's like, I don't want to waste my energy on this. I'm always looking to, I think, um this is like this is like probably one of the best times of my life.
Yeah.
My children are grown. I can really look at myself again, who I am, do things that I really want to do. I'm not where I have to have a bucket list, but you start saying, and I think you grow, and I think that's how you live. Living is always growing, setting the next goal, seeing, what can, what can I do to improve myself?
Yeah.
And I think if you really look within yourself and say, what brings me joy? What brings me joy? Um, and maybe when when you're coaching somebody, you really try to, ask, really inquisitive questions and things like that, and listen and hear what they have to say. And sometimes the thing that they thought they wanted is not what they really wanted.
Mhm.
But it's okay to explore that option.
Sure. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. You said
right.
something that I think is so important, and I want you to close with it. If you're if you've bullied, or if you have been bullied, I want you to talk about uh, goals, because that's one of the things that I've noticed in my own life, is that when I don't have two, three, four, five goals that I am
Mhm.
moving towards, right? I'm growing towards, I get there's too much time on my hands. So
Mhm.
how do you feel about that? Because it's right, setting those goals, like you said, growing. tell us, close with that for us, how important that is.
Oh, I think that's living. I mean, I really believe that, and it just improves you as a person. People talk about, especially in my industry, New Year's resolutions,
Mm.
and I always reevaluate myself in April. That's my birthday, so it's I always look to say, am I where I want to be? What's the next thing? And I'm not always chasing the next best thing. I'm not.
No.
You know, what will I do? One of my goals last year was, I'm going to make sure I finish that book club book, every single club, because that's I'm a busy person, and that's usually the first question. Kathy, did you finish the book? So it could be something as simple as that. And then when you achieve that goal, it's so gratifying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and again, sometimes you have your sights set on something, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, no, that's not what I really
Sure,
want.
and it's okay that it's right. You have
Right.
left us with amazing, amazing tools, and I'm so appreciative. We're gonna wrap this up, and so share again. People can find you on Facebook at Kathy
Yes.
Margiasso, right? They can just look you
Yes.
up, and they can also get you on email,
Yes.
Kathy.margiasso at
Margiasso at
Gmail.
gmail.com.
Perfect. And email
Okay.
Kathy. Getting a coach is so important. It's so, so important. And it's what, coaches have coaches, and it keeps, right? It's accountability.
Absolutely. We always have, mentors, and it keeps us on track.
Yes, absolutely.
On
Thank
track.
you so much for being with us today. It was such a pleasure. You gave me a lot of reminders that I need to reset myself a little bit. So I appreciate that.
Okay. Thank you.
You've been listening to Thrive by Gen Radio on Transformation Talk Radio. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to Thrive by Gen Radio on transformationtalkradio.com. Tune in live each Monday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, as Jen shares the action steps and real stories from people throughout the country that will ignite you to stand in confidence, love from within, and be unstoppable at fulfilling your dreams. For more information, podcast downloads, and to connect with Jen, visit jenniferzellup.com.